I mean, he'll catch at least a touchdown on 3 targets.
I don't know how a speed threat kept getting 5-yard touchdowns.
He's their red zone threat. It's not AJ Green or Tyler Boyd or whatever the corpse of tight ends they have, or Joe Mixon. It's Sean Ross.
But yeah, if you can find a year 3 wide receiver though, who's maybe flashed a couple things and or had some good draft capital but is now just tanked in his value, try to grab some of those shares and see if anything happens. Occasionally get lucky.
Looking at you, Mike Williams and Corey Davis. Looking at you.
Yeah, those guys as well.
And Zay Jones.
And Zay Jones especially. All right, coming in at 17, mostly due to injury, is Odell Beckham Jr. When he was healthy, we were seeing flashes of it, mostly with him throwing the football. Any concerns about him with the corpse of Eli Manning throwing him the ball in 2019?
I don't really have concerns about Odell. I think a lot of people are going to fade him a bit. Not a lot. I mean, fading Odell's like wide receiver 5, but just because of the injuries the last 2 years, and it's Saquon's team, but overall, he'll still be a high pick.
I mean, if he's throwing touchdowns to Saquon, I'm fine with that. I still get points for that. I'm kicking the tires on him from all owners just to see where the price is on him. It's just a guy. He's still a top 5 dynasty asset, not just receiver, but asset.
I'm not sure I quite have him that high, because I for sure have at least 2 running backs in front of him, maybe more, and then arguably a couple more receivers.
I tend to lean receivers more though when I do startups. And
longevity standpoint,
the fact that
I mean,
they're a lot harder to replace.
Give me Barkley and Zeke over him for sure, though.
Yeah, maybe.
Fair.
All right.
Well, Barkley for sure.
All right, coming in at 18, Amari Cooper is he going to be more like the Dallas version we saw in the second half of the season, or the San Francisco Raider version we saw in the first half of the season?
The move to Levi Stadium or Giant Stadium or whatever got denied. So
did it?
Yes.
I did not see that it got denied. I just saw that it got announced.
San Francisco has territorial rights, and they said not a chance.
Oh my God, I love it.
Even though they're on the other side of the bay, they have territorial rights.
Yeah.
Oh, that's very odd.
It's in San Francisco. I mean, they have territorial. San Francisco has territorial rights over San Francisco, and
when they don't play anywhere near San Francisco anymore.
Right.
Gonna feel weird.
Anyway, Amari Cooper, by the way, what version are you gonna get? I don't know. Are you gonna get the 5-game version where he was good, or are you gonna get the last 3 games where he totaled 83 yards and no touchdowns? People forget about that.
I'm still not completely bought in this Dallas a passing attack. I'm not anti-Dak. I just don't see him as an elite quarterback. He does help the team.
I mean, what you're hoping for is Russell Wilson light.
What you're hoping for is Dak to get hurt and Mike White to come take the starting job, and that'll be the end of that.
Let's get the statue with the cannon arm. But Cooper helps his team. I'm more interested in the number 2 there in Gallup, but more on that later. There's a lot of Cooper truthers out there that will not sell him because of this. His value for some reason it got higher, but it's hard to pry off a Cooper, a guy who owns Cooper from them because of how most of them view him.
Well, the thing for me was that he went to Dallas and everybody's like, oh, it was amazing in Dallas. And he had a good 5-game stretch. People forget the last 3 games. He didn't do jack shit.
Yeah, he struggled.
He struggled. So how is that any different from when he was in Oakland? It is really what it comes down to. And the passing offense struggled. You don't exactly have what you would call dynamic offense there. So if you get people that are still high on Amari Cooper and think that Dallas is going to save him, I would say sell him.
Yeah. I mean, I still want to see. I'm also a big fan of Cooper, but
yeah, I mean, there's a chance. Amari Cooper is like a worse version of Stephon Diggs as far as frustrating goes.
And the better version of Devonta Parker. When is it going to happen? and Nick just gave me the angry guys.
Devonta Parker's never going to happen.
Yeah. I own him in 1 dynasty league, and he's not going to be on it after rookie draft time.
Yeah, I've got my cuts earmarked.
Yeah, I've started going through my teams. Unfortunately, ESPN pulled them, so now I can't do that for those. But I've been figuring out cuts for some of my teams already.
Yeah.
Same.
All
Yeah.
right.
Trade people.
Number 19, and this is probably a surprise to most people. We would have called this at the start of the season, is Calvin Ridley.
I'm not shocked.
You're not
I'm
shocked?
not shocked either because he started off so hot, but just 3 startable games after a super hot start. But again, he was a rookie. To me, it was a good rookie season. He's a guy that, if you took him in rookie drafts, you're probably not disappointed with that, or maybe you are, depending on what you paid for him. But, in Dynasty, I still think he has a wide receiver 2 upside. I think that he'll eventually settle into a nice role with the Falcons. And I think that, he's going to be fine. And the flashes were just showed maybe he could be more than what we initially thought.
I mean, he landed into a very good situation with Atlanta and a very good offense that's going to be even more pass-friendly going into this season. He'll always be the number 2 to Julio as long as Julio is there. But as Hopper said, I mean, he's got upside, and that's what you're hoping for. And that's why he's a good wide receiver 3 or 4 / flex in a lot of these leagues.
Yeah, and he's got the ability to boom enough to get you a wide receiver 2 finish.
And I always thought he was the most, if you want to say pro ready, but the most polished rookie receiver coming into this.
Especially when he had to come in and take 2 coverage as opposed to more, which was basically running as the 1.
Yeah.
All right, number 20 is Kenny Golladay, already 25, even though he's through his only second season in the NFL. Any thoughts on him as the de facto number 1 for the Lions?
No.
That I don't like it.
Yeah.
Offensive philosophy shift. First off, you got a defensive-minded head coach that, again, is going to want to run the football. The offense went to complete dog shit after they traded Golden Tate. And, Kenny Golladay was fine, but Kenny Golladay shouldn't be more than a mid to low wide receiver 2 in redraft. And as far as Dynasty goes, I don't like him a whole lot higher than that, just because, again, as you mentioned, he's already 25. Yes, he's flashed. He didn't have a high, draft pedigree coming out of the draft. So
he was a 3rd rounder, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So no, it's not shit. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't terribly high. So, people say next Calvin Johnson. I don't see that at all. I see
God, no.
that he might peak as a high end too, but. Yeah, I don't trust it. I don't like it.
I think he's better served to be a team's number 2.
I think he is too.
And you saw that him, kind of take it over from Marvin Jones, and then they fluctuated until they got rid of Tate, and then it was Jones and Golladay for the few games that Jones was able to play before he got hurt.
Yeah, and then Golladay had a pretty down stretch before his blow-up game against Buffalo, so he's.
Yeah.
His name is probably worth more than he actually is at this point in Dynasty.
I have no issue selling him. He's 25, only played 2. I mean, that alone, we don't know what he is, and by the time we kind of figure it out, he'll be towards the back end of his prime if he's there.
All right, any other thoughts on Golladay?
No, I agree completely. I'll be towards the back end of his prime, and I'm completely okay with selling him also.
All right, Jarvis Landry coming in at 21. Kind of an erratic year for him, but he stayed healthy. And in the second half of the season, Mayfield started turning it on, and Landry started getting some usage that was good to see. He gets his Kitchens back as his offensive coordinator here. What are we expecting going forward?
A bit of a bounce back. I don't know that you're going to see him be the type of target monster that he was in Miami, but I do expect him to have at least a better season and a more consistent season than what he did this year.
He had no double-digit targets after week 8. He had only 2 games over 100 yards.
That was the switch from Haley to Kitchens, right? When he no longer saw double-digit targets.
Yes.
Around that time, it's tough because he became a little bit more boom bust because the floor games weren't really there because his floor games were more of 3 catches for 60 yards and only 2 touchdowns since that week 8. So I think Mayfield wants to push the ball vertically. We saw that. With guys like Rashard and Callaway, even Njoku up the seam. Excuse me. It doesn't fit as much into what Landry does as more of a technician route runner in that short to intermediate range. No, Landry can be more of a deep threat. I don't know if they're going to use him that way though.
I could see them though if they
'Cause they
develop
tried
the
to.
vertical passing game though. He may be open underneath a lot, and they may take
Mayfield's
advantage
got
of
to
it.
take those. Mayfield's a very aggressive passer.
He is, but I could see that be something they work on real hard this offseason. Because if you develop a vertical passing game, logically the underneath stuff should be there, and you should be taking it sometimes.
Well, yeah, sometimes.
So it'll be interesting to see. He probably had a down enough season though that he's worth at least taking a look at and seeing if you can buy him as a wide
I
receiver
have
too.
no issue with that. If you want to go kick the tires from the owner, fine. You should.
Yeah, his price is going to be low. I think he's a good buy.
I agree with that.
All right. Coming in at 22 is your Super Bowl MVP, Julian Edelman.
Hall of Famer, apparently.
That is the dumbest thing I've
Fucking
ever heard.
Christ, man.
I have no idea. Wide receiver 11 after his return, though. I don't really have any balls about next year. He's Brady's safety net. Brady doesn't really work the ball downfield a whole lot these days. Edelman over the middle, been very, very open, very, very reliable. He was very, very good after he got back. He is wrong side of 30, but another 2 to 3 years, you'll probably get production out of him. So,
Yeah, as long as he doesn't get suspended next year, he's going to be a mid to high wide receiver 2 in drafts.
He's going to be a very popular guy that's going to be in trades during the season, I think, until he retires or until he's either falls off a cliff, because he's too old for most teams to want to rebuild, obviously, or have him as a rebuild piece. So you're going to see a lot of championship teams have him, trade him in the offseason for some assets, and then which is fine because Edelman is very, when he's healthy and not, sitting at home suspended, he's very productive.
if Edelman's your 2 or your 3, you're in good shape.
All right. I think we need this before we talk about the next guy. And that is Emmanuel Sanders coming in at number 23. Unfortunately, he's the wrong side of 30. Had an Achilles injury. I don't think he's coming back.
Yeah, I don't. Even if he does come back, I mean, we talked about it with Deonta Foreman a lot, and Achilles injury was later in the year, so you're not going to get a lot of value out of him next year. And then add another year to his age. Year after that, can he make a comeback? If he does, what can he be? Him and Pierre Garçon both. I think it's finally just time to say goodbye to.
Yeah, I had the same thought in mind. And was Pierre Garçon. I think he'll get paid to try to be what Garçon was for the Niners when they brought him in. It's just kind of a bridge guy to kind of help with the run, the young guys.
But
he'll be 32 here in a little over a month. So by the time you probably get anything useful out of him, he's already going to be 33.
Yeah, 33, bordering on 34. He may have another good season or two in him, even at that age. But look, if you got him in Dynasty, you can't really you can't sell him. You just need to hold him and hope that he does make a comeback. If
you got a good roster, he may even be a cut.
He could be.
I wouldn't cut him. IR. I think he sells enough value to where you don't need to cut him.
Yeah, but you're gonna have that weird part in the season where you've got to
have your
people off of IR before you can put them back.
That's fine. I would look to trade him and try to get something for him. He's still gonna. Some team is gonna try to even a 3rd round pick. Someone will try to trade a 3rd round pick for him.
I would try, but I'm not. I wouldn't give up a 3rd round for him.
Convinced you're gonna get it.
I'm not saying we would. I'm saying there's a lot of people who could still see them that way, though.
All right, let's start getting to the 3rd-year breakouts because we got 3 of the next 4. Mike Williams came in at number 24, mostly fueled on 1 game. What do we think about him heading into next year with this offense that may have too many mouths to feed?
Man, while they're losing a mouth to feed, Tyrell Williams is UFA. Travis Benjamin has not really been much of anything, but on the flip side, Keenan Allen, Melvin Gordon, return of Hunter Henry. How much is Mike Williams going to get?
I'm not high on Mike Williams. It could happen, but the one thing that allowed him to be more of a touchdown guy was without Hunter Henry, and now he's back. Tyrell didn't do a whole lot anyways.
Yeah, he was the smallest mouth to feed.
Yeah, They're gonna move Mike. I can see them moving Mike to being more of what Tyrell was, and that's pushing vertically because Mike is a very good 50-50 winner, and that's what he does well. I don't know if the targets are going to be there. I think he only had 60 targets this year.
Yeah, and
not
that's
buying
not to
into it.
say. I mean, even with Hunter Henry coming back, I don't think he's more than the 70 to 80 range at best.
That's what you're hoping for, I think.
That's what you're hoping for, and even then, you're talking wide receiver 3 is probably a good depth piece to have, but I don't think he's going. I don't think you're going to see the year 3 breakout from him.
Yeah, he's the guy I want to own him, but I definitely don't want to buy him.
I want to sell him because I think there's going to be as we talked about earlier with year 3 bucks we've been talking about now. People are going to want to buy him because of what he could be. I'm fine with trying to sell him off to, for someone that I think that I believe in more.
More of a hold for me. I want to see him have a blow up game or two, which he probably
that's
will.
Very
and
fair.
Then you try to roll off of it. I don't think you're going to get the value you should for. I don't think you're going to get good value for him right now if you try to sell him.
All right, 25, Chris Godwin.
I like him a lot more.
Opposite
as a breakout
feelings.
Candidate.
I know. How about Mike Williams?
You saw a lot more flashes out of Chris Godwin this season than you did Mike Williams, and you got Bruce Arians coming in. He's not going to be relied on to be the one, but there should be enough to go around. If Deshaun Jackson is no longer in town, I love Chris Godwin.
I've gushed over Chris Godwin all season, so everyone knows my feelings on Chris Godwin.
If anyone's listened to this show for more than a few episodes, they should know our feelings.
Everyone knows how much this show loves Chris
But
Godwin.
yes, very much all the love for Chris Godwin. He's an excellent prospect coming out. He was one of our favorites coming into that draft. He's flashed with his ability to score touchdowns. We now have an Arians offense. Likely no Deshaun Jackson, or if he's back, it's almost going to be strictly a vertical role. So should be a pretty good situation for him.
Yeah, I'm actively trying to buy him with my some mid-first round picks. Not multiple, but
a mid-first
round pick.
26, Alshon Jeffery had a tough year coming back from the shoulder surgery. Didn't even play the first couple weeks. Barely missed being a wide receiver 2, though, and a rough start for him. So not too bad, especially with some of the quarterback issues.
He doesn't perform nearly as well with Carson Wentz, though. And that's where my pause comes from, honestly. We've seen him do some good things over the last couple seasons, but he hasn't done it for a whole season. And again, when Wentz is in there, he's got more eyes for Ertz than Alshon.
He's got more eyes for Dallas Goedert than Alshon at times.
Yeah, he prefers work middle of the field, it looks like. And Alshon I don't know that we've had a good stretch of performance from Alshon Jeffery when Carson Wentz was throwing the football.
And he turns 29 in 4 days.
Well, I want to talk about a few good things this year. He had a 70% catch rate. 70.
Okay.
I heard 7, but
best of his career, if I remember correctly.
Yep, was the best of his career by about 10%. So that probably comes down a little bit. But he did have 843 yards and 6 touchdowns in just 13 games. So over a full 16-game stretch, that should get him to be right around 1,000 and probably 7 or 8 touchdowns.
On Wentz pace or Foles pace, though?
That's including both of them. Most of his games were with Wentz.
Well,
I don't think Wentz was banged up for most of the year. He came back too soon. We talked about that in the QB roundup. But as we talked, Wentz has hungry eyes for his tight ends for Ertz. We saw that. That's why we all love Zach Ertz. Saw it again with Dallas Goedert. The team was more successful when they ran 2 tight end plays, which hurt Alshon because they got Ertz and Goddard back involved. The running backs get involved with this team. The only thing that helps them is we don't know who the 2 is, or because I don't know because Golden Tate's a UDFA, so or not or a UFA, excuse me.
Yeah,
and then it's if they bring him back or not.
Yep, and only one of his touchdowns was with Foles, or 2 of his touchdowns, I should say, with Foles. One at the beginning of the season, one at the end of the season. The rest of his touchdowns were all with Wentz. So 4 of the 6. So I could see him being fine with Wentz here, especially if Wentz is healthy.
If Wentz is healthy, and
that is a big question mark right now. I agree.
It's a relatively big if. So,
but how expensive is he really right now?
Well, Yeah, I don't know. 14, 15, 16 with Foles, 160 yards, 82 yards, 59 on a touchdown. Before that, you had 50 and a touchdown, a bunch of 30 and 40-yard games with Carson Wentz. And then you go back to week 4 where he had an okay game with Wentz in week 3. So that's where my concern is, though, is that middle stretch there. 35 yards on 4 receptions, 48 on 4 receptions, 33 on 4 receptions, 39 on 3, 31 on 3.
That was also in the entire offense outside of Ertz was just shit, though.
Well, and Wentz quarterbacking, too. And again, he may have been beat up. He wasn't 100%, but I'm just saying that's where my pause with Alshon Jeffery comes with, because we saw that a bit early on last year, too, and then he took off in the playoffs, but he took off in the playoffs when Foles was quarterback. So not that he hasn't performed with Wentz on occasion, but the consistent performances have not come with Wentz under center.
They also changed how they ran their offense when they traded for Tate. They ran more 3 receiver sets,
Yeah.
And then they went back to it where he was more successful. I don't know.
I'm just saying there's a decent amount of risk associated with the 29-year-old wide receiver that is not consistently performed over the last 2 years. Look, I know Jeffrey's upside as a Bears fan. I know what it is. I know what he can do when he strings a whole season together. I am not confident in his ability to string a whole season together.
All right. Well, I am excited that he did come off this season healthy. So at least we should be good heading into next year. So that is
hopefully
one good note.
Please survive preseason.
27, Corey Davis, second to last guy we're going to talk about. We've talked a lot about Corey Davis over the last couple months.
You want a year 3 breakout, this is another guy I would target because he is the number 1 on his team.
But he is tied with Mariota.
He's tied with his offense.
Another new offensive coordinator.
Yep.
So there's a lot of concern I got with Corey Davis. The upside is super juicy. It would be awesome if you could have the breakout, but man, as an owner, am I nervous.
Hey, if he's down, though, and if people are down on Corey Davis and are ready to give up on him, though, he is one of my favorite buy candidates for a year 3 breakout if you don't have to pay a premium for him. He sits right up there. If you're talking about it in terms of rookie draft picks, he would be right up there with this top group of wide receivers. So, I mean, mid-first is probably the fair value for him, but you'll see.
This is a guy you can wait until your actual rookie draft, because all the hype is around these receivers, and a lot of them need time to develop, and we'll get to that when we get to a rookie receiver.
A lot of them have holes in their game.
And Davis, that's just year 3 breakout potentially. There are a lot of concerns, but he's a guy that could at least will give you productive games next year. If I can get him as a mid-first, late-first, I'll do that all day.
Especially if you don't have to rely on him as a top 2 receiver on your team.
All right, and last guy we're going to talk about before we wrap up this episode is Adam Humphries coming in, breaking 150 points. Overall,
I don't know what the hell to do with this guy. He's incredibly consistent, especially after Jameis Winston got back. Week 7 on, he really only gave you 2 duds. It's his best season of his career by far. I believe he was a year 3 guy.
UFA?
UFA, so your question is, can it continue, or can any semblance of this type of floor continue to make him a guy you want to have on your bench? I talked about at the end of last year as a guy that I want on most of my benches, and I think that carries over into next year. Do I want to rely on Adam Humphries, though? Still not sure I want to say that, but he's a guy I'd like to have around.
I want to see where he lands, because he's in a good situation in Tampa Bay.
All right, this was his 4th year. He's had 80-plus targets in 3 straight seasons.
Like that.
That's good.
And easily his highest touchdown scoring season. He had more touchdowns this year than he had in the previous 3 seasons combined.
Okay.
But the last 3 seasons, he's been over 600 yards, been over 55 receptions. So
again,
there's some good things to like there.
I want to see where he lands.
Modern day Brian Hartline.
Yeah.
Old school name.
Yeah, he's great in PPR leagues. He's a fantastic fill-in. And I'm very excited to see where he lands. And he's a cheap enough name that if you're in a PPR format at all, you may want to go try to pick him up as a wide receiver 4 or 5, just as kind of that depth to get you through the season.
He's your bye weeks.
Bye weeks, injury fill-in, whatever you may need.
Yep.
All reliable. He's a great 4 or 5 guy to have around.
All right. That's all I've got for the wide receiver 2s. We'll be back next week with a group of wide receiver 3s, guys who are probably in that 120 to 150 point range. I haven't quite deep dove it yet to see where the line is, but that's my just initial guess. And then a list of guys who we just need to talk about. Maybe they got hurt and missed a good chunk of the season. They're a possible breakout. And we'll go ahead and talk about them more in next week's episode, and then we'll wrap it up at the end of February with the tight end position. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. You can follow us at Beerfield FF on Twitter, Instagram, and Untapped. Beerfield Fantasy Football is where you can find us on YouTube. If you can hit subscribe, like, drop comments, review us on iTunes. It's all stuff that helps promote the show. We appreciate it. It costs you nothing, and it really helps us out. So we thank you for you guys that do that. Down in St. Louis, we got Christopher Hopper.
At Hot BFF, come follow me on Twitter and disagree with my draft takes as I continue my months-long trek through film.
Yep, keep him busy. Argue with him about draft takes. It'll be fun. Got Dan Third, am I right?
Going through that same type of grind with all the fun film that I've watched. Some fun.
At 3BFF.
At 3BFF. I'm out of it.
I am at Nick Sparts. You can follow me on Twitter as well if you want to go and harass me. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week with part 2 of the wide receiver breakdown. We look forward to that. Thank you for tuning in, guys, and we'll catch you next time on Beerfield Fantasy Football.
See ya.
Peace.